Welcome to the tour of the TB Lessons website. Now, I'm not the genius who wrote the program or created the site, but as a former teacher who always loved to create her own lessons, was so impressed with it that I wanted to let others know about it. This whole site is so easy to use that I've already created close to 100 interactive lessons. So, it's my pleasure to give you this tour. This website gives you easy-to-use tools to create next-generation interactive lessons and books. And then it becomes a marketplace for you to sell your lessons to earn extra money. And, by the way, keep a higher percentage of the sale than other marketplace sites. It's also a place to purchase and play interactive lessons on touchboards, computers, or tablets. So let's start at the top with the 3 different kinds of accounts available. A student account would be for any individual of any age who wants to do interactive lessons on a touchboard, computer, or tablet. It's easy to set up and it's free. As a student account holder, you're able to purchase books full of interactive lessons from the virtual bookstore and then play them through your virtual library. Or you would set up your free student account if you're part of a group, like you're a patient in speech-language therapy, a student participating in an after-school program, or a student in a classroom. The second kind of account is for anyone who likes to create their own lessons. This site gives you wonderful, easy-to-use tools to make lessons that are interactive. They give immediate feedback, have sounds, grade themselves, and even graph student progress. You could even take those favorite lessons that you created over the years and turn them into interactive lessons that can grade themselves. Then you can sell the lessons in the virtual lesson store. And if you have several lessons on one topic, like a unit, you can put them together and sell them as a book in our virtual bookstore. The third kind of an account is a site license account, which doesn't provide you with the tools to create lessons, but allows you to purchase and play interactive lessons and books on our site. This would be for someone who has a group of students or patients. Perhaps you're a speech-language therapist who wants to use touchboard or computer lessons during therapy sessions. With this program, you can even assign reinforcement lessons for your patients to do at home on their individual computers. You can even monitor their homework and graph their progress. Or perhaps you're in charge of an after-school program and want to assign activities for the students to do on a touchboard, computer, or tablet at your site. People holding site licenses are the only ones who have access to many free lessons created by our staff. For more information about each account, see the boxes below: Student, Mentor, Teachers, and Site License. I want to show you some things in the Mentor box. Our staff has put together several sample lessons to give you an idea of different types of lessons you can create. So far, we have 11 different lessons in here, and each lesson has a little description, and you can play the lesson, you can read a step-by-step how-to guide, or you can watch a tutorial that shows you exactly how I created the lesson. Also, we'll go back to the page. Also, there's a quick start guide that explains a lot of the features in this program. And then we have some short FAQ videos that answers your frequently asked questions. Now let's talk about some of the features of our site: the virtual bookstore, library, lesson store, and classroom. To gain access to any of these features, you need to have one of the 3 accounts and you need to be signed in. So I'll sign in as a mentor. And here we have our features and tools that are available to mentors. So let's start with the virtual bookstore. Any account holder can purchase a book from the bookstore. If you have an account and want to purchase a book, you'll just click on that virtual bookstore tab and choose a category like English Language Arts. And it shows that these are some books that are in the English Language Arts category. And here it shows check in library. This means that I've purchased this book. It's in my virtual library. But if I hadn't purchased it yet and I wanted to try it out, this is a courtesy for buyers to see if the lessons inside the book would be appropriate for their age group. And here you see a table of contents with the author. It's going to tell you a little bit author, a little bit about the illustrator, a preface, which is a description of the book, and then here are the chapters within the book. So let's just look at one quickly. Let's look at parts of a face, and it'll allow you to do one lesson, so let's do it. And we see the lesson, we click begin, and we could actually do that lesson to see exactly what it entails and see if it's appropriate. So after you purchase a book from the virtual bookstore, it will be housed in your virtual library. And so it shows, yes, I actually do have those books in my library and I can play them here. Now, these books are intended for use by one user at a time and can be played on a touchboard, a computer, or a tablet. But if you want multiple users to be able to do lessons at the same time, like several students on several computers, and you want your students' scores to be tracked, graded, and graphed, you'd go shopping in the lesson store. Now, in the lesson store, you can search for lessons through different filters: a mentor's name, a category, or a grade level. You're allowed to try the lessons one time. This is a courtesy, again, to ensure it's appropriate for your needs. Once you've tried the lesson, the try button is no longer visible. So these are 3 that I have tried. Now I'm going to log out of my mentor account because we're going to talk about the virtual classroom. And remember, the virtual classroom is all about the students. The virtual classroom holds lessons that the teacher or site license holder puts into it. These lessons were either created by the mentor teacher or purchased from the virtual lesson store. The teacher or site license holder assigns the daily lessons for their students, and those lessons are visible to the students, and they're the only lessons visible to the student. Once a student has logged in, and I'm going to go ahead and log in as a student, it says, welcome back, student Jan. So I'm going to go ahead and click on my virtual classroom to see what my teacher wants me to do today. My teacher would have given me the classroom name and the classroom ID. And I see that there's 2 lessons here. One's an assessment and one's just a practice activity. So let's say I'm going to do the assessment today. Then I go ahead and I do the lesson. And you have to remember, when you grab these answers from the answer bank, you grab them from the front and you put them firmly in the box provided. Now we'll just do a couple of these to show you Now, if this were a practice activity, there would probably be sounds, and if you put the answer in the wrong box, it would make a terrible sound and would allow you to move it to another location. But this is an assessment, so I'm not going to know which ones I got right or wrong until the end. So let me do one incorrectly. Down tube, I'm going to put it instead of head tube there. And assuming I had finished all of these, like the kickstand keeps the bike from falling over. Then let's say I had finished the assessment, then I click stop, and anything that was wrong will be in red and the correct answers will be in white, and that little drop down box told you how many you got right or wrong. So now we're going to click out of that, and I'm going to log out as a student, and I'm going to just log right back in as the mentor. Now these are referred to as your launch tiles, and each one has a drop-down menu with several choices, several options. So let's first talk about this tile, the classroom tile, because as either a site license holder or a teacher mentor, you'll use this tile. This is where you assign lessons for your students or patients to do in their virtual classroom. So if we hover over this launch tile, it says list all classroom lessons. So it'll show a bunch of lessons that are available for you to assign to your classroom. And it will show manage classroom lessons. And this is where you decide which lesson you want to show up in the classroom for that particular day. And you would highlight it, and you would set the date with the calendar for the date you want it to show up. Now, if you wanted your students to have a whole week to do the practice activity, say, then you would show a show date and a terminate date a week later. If it was something that you wanted them to do as an assessment, it might just be there for one day. The show date and terminate date would be on the same, would have the same date. And then you would either click modify or assign. Now this one's already in a classroom, so that's why it says modify. If it was the first time being assigned, it would say assign. And now another thing is the view classroom lesson statistics, and this is great. So let's go to the parts of a bike assessment that poor Jan did earlier. And here it shows she's done this lesson and done this lesson. It'll show the date that she started it. It will show the score, and then error view. So the first time she did this, she had 7 wrong, and it shows you the exact words that she did not know, that she put incorrectly into a different drop box or text box. The other thing it'll show is if you click on this magnifying glass on the other side, it graphs all of the interactions that she did, all of the scores. And it also gives you a little drop down of how many elements were there, errors, time, score, and tracked errors. And time in this case is 0 because for the assessment I didn't want it to be timed. Now if you need a line graph instead of this kind of graph, you just click line, and there you have a line graph. More about this feature in another video in our FAQ section. Now let's go to the lesson tile. And the lesson tile is where you actually create the lessons that you place in your virtual classroom. And if you wish, to put them in our marketplace, the virtual bookstore and lesson store. So let's go to create a lesson. Now I'm just going to walk you through very briefly. You would put a title for the lesson. You would click choose a category. You would choose a grade level. You would decide if it would be repeated or not. And do you want it to be a static lesson or interactive? If you want it interactive, which most of ours are, now you have other choices. Do you want the answers to show at the start? Do you want there to be an answer bank? If so, where? A timer? You decide about the grading method. Do you want immediate feedback for the students? If so, you would choose on interaction. If you don't want them to know till the end for maybe an assessment, you would choose either on completion or on button press. You decide if you want noises to be on your lesson for incorrect and correct answers and perfect score. And if so, you would choose which sounds. A lot to choose from. And then you would click Continue to Composer. Oh, I didn't put a title. I'm just going to go DFG. Now continue to Composer. And here is your lesson surface, and it gives you the title. And remember, in the sample lessons, I'm going to show you how to use all of these widgets. So we're not going to go into that right now. Then the next thing is manage existing lessons. So here are lessons that I've created. I can say I wanted to modify a lesson. I could highlight it and open it. I could delete it, or I could sell it. So let's just go through. Here's a lesson that I created, and I haven't put it in the lesson store yet. So I'll click Sell Lesson. The title populates over, and I can choose whatever amount of price I want for my lesson. So modify in store, and there we go. Click out of that one. And the last thing is view lesson sales. So if you have lessons that you've put in the lesson store, you can view how many have been sold, how much money you're making, that type of thing. Now, once you've created the lesson, you might decide to put some of the lessons together into a book to be sold through the virtual bookstore. If you're interested in creating and selling books, view the video Creating a Book found in the FAQ section. The resource launch tile is where you would upload pictures, graphic organizers, and sounds that you'll use in your lessons. More about uploading items will be covered in the FAQ section. Well, that's an overview of the TB Lessons site. Thank you for watching.